Hello, First Things First listeners. This is Skip Bayless. Weekdays on Undisputed, I debate my co-host Shannon Sharp on the biggest sports news of the day. But now it is time for me to unleash in a brand new way. Introducing the Skip Bayless Show. My opportunity to share behind-the-scenes stories about things I've seen and confrontations I've had from decades covering the NFL and NBA. This is an opportunity to go so much deeper into solo opinions that just don't fit in rapid-fire debate. I will respond to your no-holds-barred questions. You can ask me anything about why I've said what I've said, or about what goes on off-camera on Undisputed. Your question should be as provocative as you want. My answer sure will be. New episodes of The Skip Bayless Show will come out each week. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcasts.
Chris Broussard is set to unveil his NBA All-Star ballot today. Why is Nick already upset about it? We're not even 30 seconds into the show.
It's bad.
Patrick Mahomes
He doesn't have one. That's why.
Josh Allen. All right, there you go. The two quarterbacks facing off for the fourth time in the last two seasons. How can Buffalo pull off the upset Sunday in Kansas City? And Chris Broussard's under duress list is back ahead of divisional round weekend. And with that, we say good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome to a very busy Thursday morning here on First Things First. Nick, Broussard, Kevin Wildes. Broussard, you stay up deep into the night for this, the same way that Nick does with his committee there? Was this like an all-night situation?
Absolutely. Yeah, I had books, I had computers, plural.
Math
I really
problems?
dug in and picked the perfect starting five each conference.
Should have spent more time on your All-Star
I'm
ballot.
excited.
Less time on the Bud list.
Excited.
Wouldn't be so embarrassing.
All right, we are getting ready for a great weekend of football. Niners, Packers, all eyes on Jimmy Garoppolo after he sprained his throwing shoulder in the win over the Cowboys past weekend. Nick, what's the best ability in football?
Availability, Jenna.
Well, if Jimmy G is available, he's going to need his very best to have any shot of upsetting the Packers. And of all the injuries to a quarterback, though, you'd think this one would be the worst one, and you wouldn't be wrong.
The shoulder, yeah, it's being a quarterback, it affects every throw. So it, definitely had some impact. But, if I'm out there and I'm being put in that spot, I got to, still make the plays that I'd normally make. So no excuses or anything like that. Just, the injury is what it is. Just we're all dealing with stuff.
All right, Nick, how worried should Niners fans be about Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, they should be incredibly worried about Jimmy Garoppolo, but it has nothing to do with his injured shoulder. Not unless I'm not a doctor. I don't know the full kinetic chain. But not if a shoulder injury affects decision-making, processing, and the ability to read and react to what you're seeing on the field, then maybe that's an explanation for, Jimmy G's entire career. But assuming that's not the case, they should be concerned because they could play the perfect game against the Packers and Jimmy G could still throw it away the way he tried against the Cowboys. We haven't had time this week. We've been so jam-packed with topics and takes and segments. We haven't had time to discuss the death of quarterback wins, which, they suffered a, quiet, sad death or Sunday afternoon on CBS when the Niners won that football game. Because once and for all, even Broussard and Wildes are going to admit that that game was the perfect evidence, as has Jimmy G's entire career really been, that looking at who won and assigning value or assigning credit to the quarterback is ludicrous. That football game, Jimmy G tried to throw it away. And that is a trend for his entire postseason career. These numbers are inarguable. Can I show them to you, please? Who's the worst fourth quarter quarterback in the playoffs last 30 years? It's Jimmy Garoppolo. It's Jimmy Garoppolo, 3 career backups, and Drew Bledsoe. And you might be like, oh, Bledsoe, that's weird. It's not weird if you remember Bledsoe in the playoffs. Bledsoe in his playoff career had 6 touchdowns, 12 picks, and a 55 passer rating, which is right in line with Jimmy Garoppolo's playoff career of 2 touchdowns, 4 picks, and a 73 rating. In that football game, Broussard, he could have won it with this pass we're going to show you right here. And he couldn't be more open. This is the play that just drives Shanahan bonkers. Shanahan's been setting that up all game. Jimmy G can't make the throw. Okay, blame that on the shoulder. What about up 13, fourth quarter? This is not a shoulder issue. This is a process issue. You can't, give me a break. Give me a break. So yeah, Niners fans should be worried because Jimmy G's going to do that at least once a game, every game. And against the Packers, I don't know if you can afford it, Broussard.
All right, first of all, Niners fans shouldn't be worried at all. They're playing with house money. All right, they're on the road. They're the wild card. They don't have the all-time great quarterback. So all they can do is win. If they win, they're praised. If they lose, well, we were supposed to lose. So they shouldn't be worried about anything. I agree with you, Nick, on Jimmy G in that I don't think the shoulder is going to be a huge factor. Okay? It was last week. And what you failed to mention as you crushed Jimmy G, and I gave him a C-. So I don't think he played a very good game like you said. He did almost throw the game away in the fourth quarter. But first half, before the injury, he's 11 for 14, 133 yards. And a clean game. No touchdowns, no interceptions. All right? You see the passer rating. Second half, he got injured in the second quarter, and you see the drop-off. 5'11", 39 yards, 16 passer rating. I do blame the miss on the Brandon Ayuk pass that you just showed, that had he completed it, could have sealed the game. It was in the third quarter. I blame that on the shoulder. I know he's missed famously before on some passes, all right, Emmanuel Sanders, but I blame this one on the shoulder. I'm with you, though, on the interception. It was a brain freeze, and I have to admit, we've seen Jimmy G have those, no question about it. I'm not going to defend that. Where I disagree with you, if the Niners played a perfect game elsewhere, that's the key. The key is the trenches. If they, just like they did against Dallas, if they stop Green Bay's run game, and if they can pressure Aaron Rodgers, they sacked Dak Prescott 5 times. If they can pressure Aaron Rodgers in a similar way and keep Green Bay from building a big lead, then they can continue their own run game. And Jimmy G can just manage the game. Right, he'll manage the game. And here's where I disagree with you also, Nick. And look, the numbers are what they are. But if it's close late, then I've got faith in Jimmy G. Jimmy G's got 7 game-winning drives since 2019. That's top 10 in the league. And nobody thinks he's a top 10 quarterback, but he's top 10 in game-winning drives. And this year, I've already had to pour it on your head many times. Cincinnati, game-winning drive. LA Rams, to get into the playoffs, game-winning drive. And even when they played the Packers early in the season, week 3, lose 30-28. Remember, game-winning drive, Jimmy G hits Kyle Juszczyk for the touchdown to go ahead 28-27 with 37 seconds left. So yeah, if it's close in the balance, then I've got faith in Jimmy G to pull it through. And no, Nick, and I'm sure Wiles agrees with me, quarterback wins have not died at all. They're alive and well.
No, stop. Of course not. Of course not. Not only are they alive and well, Broussard, they are thriving. Jimmy G, 36-15 with the win over Dallas. So, Nick, if you're so down on Jimmy G, you're down on a healthy Jimmy G. Now his shoulder is hurt. His thumb is hurt. Yeah. Traded 3 draft picks for Trey Lance. Heck, you even rebuffed Tom Brady coming over to the 49ers to the point that he went on the shop and said, you're sticking with that guy. Said it colorfully, but guy. Why don't you start Trey Lance? Start Trey Lance.
I would.
Why won't they?
I said that 2 weeks ago. Can I ask the panel? You guys love the Jimmy G record stat. Here's a more relevant one. Kyle Shanahan, as a head coach, when he throws 26 or fewer passes, 19-2. Meanwhile, when he has to actually throw the football, he wins about 35% of his games. Nobody thinks that game against the Cowboys goes differently in a bad direction, if Trey Lance is out there, any NFL quarterback could have executed that game plan. Really. I think Trey Lance would have known not to throw that pick. But here, go ahead.
How about Kyle Shanahan stat? 8-28, 8-28 without Jimmy Garoppolo starting. How's that? That look good for the genius, the boy wonder? Huh?
No. That's why he has so much loyalty to him that they traded all their future for Trey Lance. But
he's
here's
hurt
my
all
question
the time.
for the
he's hurt
panel.
all the time. That's why they traded for Lance.
And he's hurt again. And listen, yes, agreed. The Cowboys game was the full bad Jimmy Garoppolo package. He threw an impossibly bad interception and he got injured, which is one of the many reasons that the Niners are smartly moving off of him. But for Wilds or Broussard, before we break, can anyone name one Jimmy Garoppolo playoff moment that's a positive one? One. He's gone to a Super Bowl. What's your favorite Jimmy Garoppolo playoff game? Was it the 8-pass game? Was it the 19-pass game? Was it the Super Bowl that he needed, much like against the Cowboys, one late drive to ice it and couldn't do it? Guys, he not one moment. Rick Meyer had a moment. Not one moment? Come on.
Nick, if we were saying he was Tom Brady, you'd have us. But we're not. We're just saying you can win with him.
Barely Tom Tupa.
Niners-Packers, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern on Fox. And speaking of Tom Brady, because Tom talked about never getting roughing the passer calls, got a feeling some people on this panel might disagree. We're back after this. First things first. Tonight on FS1, a big night of college hoops featuring some of the top teams in the country. 4th-ranked Purdue taking on Indiana. That's at 7 Eastern. Then at 11, you want more? How about number 9 UCLA battling Utah? It all tips off tonight on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Moving on here on a Thursday morning, talk some Tom Brady now. Brady coming off that seemingly effortless win over the Eagles. And in that win, Derek Barnett, Eagles DN, got flagged for roughing the passer, not play in the first quarter. Yesterday, Brady went on his podcast, shed some light on getting calls in his favor. You know, the ones Nick says Brady always gets. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, I always hear that to different degrees about getting penalties and so forth and roughing the passers. And I think that speaks to it because they say that. And I'm always in my mind going, I don't remember the last time I got a roughing the passer. And I think we should look that up, over the last, 10 years, who's got the most roughing the passer penalties. I hope it's not me because then I just, put my foot in my mouth. But I don't feel like I get them as much as people may think that I get them. I do know that they probably let me get away with a lot of unsportsmanlike conducts, talking smack to the other team and talking smack to the refs when I don't think I get the right call. I'm kind of a pain in their ass if you don't already know that.
After I heard that, I literally said, cannot wait to hear what Nick has to say about that. Nick, what was your reaction to Brady's comments?
This is just so ludicrous. Ask any football fan that isn't either a Patriot fan or just totally in the tank for Tom Brady and ask them, when you watch games, does Brady get a disproportionate amount of critical calls in the biggest spots imaginable? And the answer is obviously yes. Now, does he get a ton of roughing the passer penalties? No, because Brady gets the ball out this fast. In Tampa specifically, he's had a great offensive line. He never runs with the football, so he doesn't take those types of hits. So no. But guys, you don't have to believe me. Just just trust your non-lying eyes. The last 2 Super Bowls Tom Brady has gone to, critical, egregiously bad outlier calls directly led to it. AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. A game the Patriots had led the entire way until this drive. That was roughing the passer. There was no DPI. This right here is roughing the passer. The first drive, the Patriots have the ball trailing the entire game. Tom Brady has the ball, gets hit in the shoulder, 15 yards. All right, Nick, well, maybe that's an outlier. What about last year's NFC Championship game, where the entire game, the referees call one post-snap penalty? The entire game, they call 0 defensive holdings, 0 illegal contacts, 0 pass interferences until you have a 3rd down incompletion with 2 minutes left, with the Bucks up by less than a touchdown after the Packers field goal, and the latest DPI flag you've ever seen comes trickling out of a referee's pocket. We've all seen it. Now, you can say he's earned it. You can say you're fine with it. You can say stars across sports get calls. But the idea that Tom Brady is officiated like the other quarterbacks in football, I don't think anyone believes that. So, like, once again, great investigative journalism by Jim Gray. I'll get the Peabody ready, but I don't see. I think this is one of the few things in sports people don't disagree about, Broussard. Of course, Brady gets the calls. No one else does, particularly in the biggest spots.
Nick Wright, stop your whining. Really? Stop it. You're whining. How about you want to show a Kansas City highlight from 2019? How about the D Ford penalty, huh? How about him being in the neutral zone? That's what cost you. That. All right, how about showing that one? So, look, to paint this picture like Brady's only been to the his last 2 Super Bowls because the refs gave him a favorable whistle or flag, that's just false. All right, he earned it. Now, you're right. We saw that play against Kansas City. It clearly was not roughing the passer, and he has gotten favorable calls here and there. Okay? But his quote to Jim Gray was about roughing the passer. And that's what a lot of people feel like. And if he did get favorable whistles, like if the referees were just in his back pocket, then he would be much higher in getting roughing the passer calls. You talk about his quick release, yes. But he threw the football more than what? All but like 1 quarterback in the history of the game this season? A lot of opportunities to get roughing the passer calls, and he had 0. 0 until last week. Yeah. And that was a bad call. I get it, but it looked like initially he hit him low when he really didn't. And so I agree with what Brady said, Wilds. I don't think he gets a favorable call with roughing the passer, but referees do let him talk a lot, run his mouth to other players, opponents, and to them. But I also think, Nick, you hit it on the head. He earned that. And I'm not saying, a great player should get favorable calls, but there's a human element. Referees are human. Sure. And when they have admiration for a living legend, like he's literally a living legend, then that human element sometimes is going to come to play. Michael Jordan, his most famous shot against Utah, he clearly shoved Brian Russell, and referees let it go. And some of that was probably he's the great Michael Jordan, just right in the moment, so they're not going to call it. Did Muhammad Ali win some rounds that he shouldn't have? Yeah, I watched him. You guys were in diapers. I watched him.
Then we agree.
And he did. You weren't even born, actually, some of you. So, yeah, I do think occasionally that comes to play for Brady. But overall, it's more perception than reality, Wilds.
All right, so here's the thing. Let's just dig into the numbers that Dusty gave us. Dusty texted us all of the numbers of what Tom Brady. He had 0 this year. He had 4 last year. He had 0 the year before that. So the idea that he's getting these calls, the numbers just don't match up. And Broussard, I'm going to ask you this because I think Nick did something a little bit tricky there about this Kansas City roughing the passer penalty that is held up as this example of why Brady's getting preferential treatment. Do you think that the referees should have a judgment on how hard a quarterback gets hit in the helmet? That you say, well, that was a medium hit.
He gets hit in the shoulder.
That was a soft hit. That was a hard hit.
He doesn't hit his helmet.
If you watch it, it's not true. If you watch it, his face mask moves on the swing down. So you can disagree whether or not it was to the severity. Okay. It's not true. Watch it again.
Okay.
If you can disagree on the severity of it, but if you're going to say, you know what, don't hit the quarterbacks in the helmet,
so that's a good call.
Moves. That's it. Then it's got to be a penalty.
His face mask moves because his body goes down.
The referee should not be in charge of determining the severity of the hit. If you hit a fingernail on the paint of the face mask, then yes, that is a penalty. That's the way it should be. Otherwise, you're down a
I rest my case,
slope
America.
where you're kind of judging I don't know if that was hard enough.
There it is.
That was medium hard.
Brew,
it's true.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Wait a second.
Well, let me just say this, Nick. I might surprise you. Wilds, look, I would love to go with you, Wilds, for the sake of this argument, but I must maintain my credibility as the wise elder statesman on this show. No, that was not a penalty. Now, I mean, he missed his face
Literally
mask.
was.
And then he kind of, as he was pulling up, he kind of touched the face mask a little. That shouldn't have been called. Come on, Wild, you're better than that.
No, listen, but America, I don't. This is.
You touch your face mask or not?
Keep showing that play, guys. Keep showing, particularly the second angle where you see he hits. First of all, touching a face mask is not against the rules. For the record, the NFL got rid of that 5-yard face mask penalty years ago. That's first of all. Second of all, he clearly hits him on the shoulder when he has the ball. Wilds. But I listen, this is my point. You must be either in the bag for Brady or a Patriots fan. Check, in order to think this doesn't happen. And now we have live evidence of Wilds defending even this. So
Justin,
if you think this is a good call, then I agree. If you think this is a good call, Wilds, then Brady doesn't get calls. Then in fact, he probably gets screwed because that happens to him a lot and it doesn't get flagged. He literally hits him on the shoulder when he has the football. Wait a second. This is my point. And the idea that we're just going to gloss over the timing of these most critical plays. And by the way, we can say that it's all because he's the GOAT, but it might just be because for some reason or another, the guy was touched by God to be lucky in this. Because this all started way before he was the GOAT. It started when he was the backup quarterback. Yeah, of course. Of course. It starts there, and it's never ended. And we can say, that was just one bad call in the Eagles game, but that sets a tone. That sets a tone for the defense. The referee's letting them know, hey, we haven't called roughing the passer on Tom all year, but now it's the playoffs. Different rules, America. Don't you breathe on our precious son. Don't you even think about it. Now the Eagles are going to get beat anyway. But we watch the games.
Well, I hope Aaron Donald and Von Miller were watching now that they know what the rules are. Tampa Tom, just one of the quarterbacks that could top this week's edition of the Bud List. Broussard's breaking it out next. First things first on a Thursday morning. All right, time for Broussard's under duress list. You'd think with the stakes this high for this weekend, everyone's under duress. Not how the segment works, Jenna. Can't put everyone on there. All right, Chris Broussard. You've been putting people under the microscope all season. What does the Bud List look like entering the divisional round this weekend?
Well, at number 5, Jenna, we just talked about him. And I'm gonna give a nod to Nick Wright and his great influence in this country, in the sports world. Jimmy Garoppolo, because Nick constantly bashes this guy and puts him under the microscope and criticizes him and says he's no good, and that is the atmosphere that Jimmy G is playing this game in. So there is pressure on him. Look, Nick is right. I'll give him that. He almost threw the game away last week. That late interception was bad. And when you look at elsewhere, the D-line, the running game, the receivers, everything else is checking positive for the 49ers. Jimmy G just has to manage the game, play clean, and they got a good chance of winning. So pressure's on Jimmy G for sure. Plus, it's an audition, Jenna, for his next job because we know he won't be in San Francisco next year. At number 4, Josh Allen.
Patriots.
Yeah, look, coming off a wonderful performance, one of the greatest cold weather performances we've ever seen. Some are saying the greatest last week in that demolition against New England, but you got to follow it up. Nick has made a good point about all of his up and downness, his inconsistencies like a roller coaster ride. If he comes out and plays poorly, that narrative will continue, and it'll be like the continuation of a bad season by his standards. Not a bad season overall, but not what we expected from him in the regular season, and if he plays poorly this weekend in the playoffs. But if he plays well, he's got a lot of room to grow, and in some people's eyes, past Patrick Mahomes. Speaking of Mahomes, he's number 3 on the list because, look, for the last 3 years or so, Patrick Mahomes has not only been known as the best young quarterback in the NFL, he's been viewed as the greatest quarterback, period, in the NFL right now. I know Brady's the GOAT, but at this moment, it's been Mahomes. Now Rodgers challenged him last year and is obviously challenging him this year. But if Mahomes loses this game and doesn't play well, not only will he not be viewed any longer as the best quarterback in the league, but some will say he's not even the best young quarterback anymore. They could give it to Josh Allen. Let's see what Joe Burrow does. So there are challengers to his throne, if you will, as the greatest young quarterback. So this weekend will be a referendum on that as well. Number 2, Matthew Stafford. Yeah, great win. Got your first playoff win last week. You played well. All right, I know Sean McVay didn't totally put it in your hands, didn't throw the ball a lot, kind of managed you a bit, but you played well. But now the real test begins because the Rams got this far last year with Jared Goff, who they jettisoned to Detroit for you, and 3 draft picks, 2 first rounders. So you have to come out and win this game to justify that trade, at least in the present, because they didn't give all that up to get to the same spot they got to last year. Matthew Stafford, this is on you. Similar to the Niners. Defense looked stout last week. Running game is back with Cam Akers and Sony Michel. We know the receiving core is arguably the best in the league. It's on Stafford. And at number 1, guys, on this Bud list is our man, Aaron Rodgers. Of course. All right. Aaron Rodgers, look, it's going to be great for him to win his fourth MVP. I believe that's second all time to Peyton Manning. It'll be great, especially second straight MVP. But the only way for him to really, truly enhance his legacy is to win a Super Bowl. That's it. That's what we're looking for. Hey, he hadn't even been to another Super Bowl. He's only been to one. And that was a decade ago. You've gone 13 wins. This is your 3rd straight year. And not a trip to the Super Bowl. And I know you still got another game to play after this one. But if you lose not to Tom Brady at home, but you lose to Jimmy G at home, to a wild card team at home, when you've got some of your defensive players coming back, you're fully healthy, you got the best receiver in the league, we're gonna start looking at Aaron Rodgers like awesome quarterback, no doubt. But why couldn't he win more in the postseason? So Aaron Rodgers, you are number 1 on the Bud.
Yeah, they got to win this week. They have to win this week. I agree with you. They likely have to at least make the Super Bowl, but they certainly can't go one and done after this year like they did the year after they won the Super Bowl, being 15-1 and losing the Giants. I think you did a great job with the NFC portion of this. Having Mahomes ahead of Allen on the Duress list is an outrage. But it's in line with the entirety of the media that has just decided that Allen is the quarterback who's been league MVP. Allen is the quarterback that won the head-to-head playoff game between these two teams last year. Allen is the quarterback that's been to a Super Bowl and won it. It's unbelievable how little equity Mahomes evidently has built up, but that's fine. Listen, nobody believes in the Chiefs. They're a clear underdog. I get it. The bill that I think might be under the most duress, and he's not my pick here, but is Tyler Bass. He's the only Bill that didn't play well last week. He's their kicker. Missed an extra point, had one blocked, had one clank in. And I do feel like every point's going to matter in this game against the Chiefs. But my answer, you have number 1, the quarterback for the 1 seed in the NFC. I would add Tannehill Wilds because Derrick Henry is going to be back. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are playing. The Titans defense, the front 7 in particular, their D tackles even more in particular, have been excellent throughout this season. They are playing a team that nobody thinks has a good coach, a second-year quarterback in his second ever playoff start, came down to the wire against the Raiders. They are rested, they are healthy, they are at home, they are the favorite. If they lose this game, it's hard for me to see a scenario where it's not because of some pretty egregious Tannehill mistakes. Nobody has believed in the Titans all year, even though they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Bills. They have 4 wins this year against teams left in the playoffs, which is remarkable when you think about it, but nobody respects them. And so I think Tannehill has to at least win this game. I don't think he has to get to the Super Bowl. You lose to the Chiefs or you lose to the Bills, no one's going to kill him. But I think he has to win this game, so I would add him to the list, Wilds.
That's good. I'm going to add the Chiefs defense, and Nick, I'm going to throw it back to you. It feels like the Chiefs offense peaking, playing great. Underhand passes are back. Travis Kelce's throwing passes. Everything's going great. But do you feel like the defense may have peaked too early? If we can look at the stats there, Hubs, since week 15. Joe Burrow had a monstrous game. Chargers put up a lot of points. They were running the ball. Broncos could move the ball. And you played well against the Steelers. But do you feel worried that, Chiefs offense rolling, Chiefs defense maybe not playing as well as they did earlier in the year?
Well, listen, they're not one of the 2 or 3 best defenses in football like they were playing for, a couple months of the season. However, I don't think the defense needs to play great against the Bills. I think they need 4 stops. I think you need 4 drives that either end in a punt or a turnover.
Buddy.
And I understand that seems impossible, but the Patriots are not good. So the fact that the Patriots weren't able to do it doesn't mean the Chiefs won't be able to do it. I think the Chiefs should look at it as, if we can hold the Bills to 31 or less, we've done our job, and it's going to be on the offense to do the rest. I understand what you're saying. You can't let Broussard, you can't let the Bills do what they did against the Patriots, but I don't think they will. And so I get it. I don't think the Bills' defense is going to be able to slow down Mahomes. So if the Chiefs lose, it'll probably be because of their defense, but I think they need 4 stops. 4 drives and a punt or a turnover is what I'm looking for.
All right, let me answer your guys' rebuttals. Nick, on Ryan Tannehill, I agree. If they lose and he looks bad, then they'll probably be looking to upgrade at quarterback, right? They'll be saying, that's all we need. We got the great A.J. Brown. Derrick Henry will be back. Our defense improved. That's what we need, is a better quarterback. But I also feel like we know what Ryan Tannehill is. And we don't know how well Derrick Henry's going to play. Like, Henry may not be himself. On the one hand, he could have fresh legs and look awesome. On the other hand, he could be rusty and still a bit injured and not play well. So I think that's a big factor in this as well. So some of this too, Nick, is expectations. All right, and
sure,
and your like how much we expect from you and already think of you. And when you think of that Tennessee offense, first you think of Derrick Henry, second you think of A.J. Brown, third you probably think of Julio Jones, even though he's not what he used to be. So I just don't think people are looking at Tannehill to be the deliverer. So that's why he wasn't on the list. And Wilds, yeah, you're right. KC's defense does have to play well. But my beef with you, Wilds, is you don't follow the rules. I mean, during the season when it was just for players, you're throwing mascots on there on the bud list. You've thrown coaches before I opened it up to coaches and front office people. Now you're throwing a whole unit on the bud list. So it's for individuals, Wilds. Individuals. So
no, I'm doing my
they
own
got to
thing.
play well,
I'm
but that's all I'm
saying.
saying.
I'm like Elon Musk of sports TV.
Rules.
Yeah, you're just like
you're
Elon
a
Musk.
rebel.
Time for Nick to hand out some NBA medals. Grizzlies, Bucks, and have yourself a night, Giannis. 33 points, 15 boards, 7 assists, threw in 2 steals as well in a win. Somehow, some way, the Greek Freak just missing out on a medal. What? Busy night in the association. Nick, which 3 guys turned in podium-worthy performances?
Well, in a just world, Giannis, Jenna would get a medal. We would have 3 medals from yesterday that we saved in reserve, like a hibernating bear. Unfortunately, Wilds made us give out medals yesterday when we shouldn't have, so we should have 6 medals. Unfortunately, we only have 3. Giannis, it's Wilds' fault. Bronze medal. Oh. You know one of the most dangerous things in the NBA? Luka Doncic, once he's played himself into shape. Why does Luka keep coming into the season out of shape? Who knows? But once he gets in shape, watch out, America. 41, 14, and 7 for my larger than he should be adult Slovenian son. Silver medal. The Joker. 49, 14, and 10 in an overtime win against the Clippers. Most nights, that would get you a gold. So why did it not? Because sneaky MVP candidate Joel Embiid got it. Gold medal for Embiid. 50 points in 27 minutes. Complete list of players in NBA history to score 50 or more in 28 or less minutes. Joel Embiid and Klay Thompson. That's the list. Klay's 14-3 game was the time he did it. Joel did it last night against Wild's beloved Orlando Magic. There is your medal stand. I have 3 more medals in reserve, but unfortunately we gave them out yesterday to guys who went 6 for 15 and nonsense. More on that in the post-show meeting.
Did not make it. Second show. Talk some Bills Chiefs. What will Buffalo have to do to pull off the upset Sunday in KC? Nick says nothing, never going to happen. Coach Mangini says it could. He'll tell you how.
I didn't say
Breaking
that.
out the game plan next. First things first. Fox Bet Super 6 is bringing back Stack the Cash. Scan the QR code, download the Super 6 app, enter the divisional round contest featuring 49ers Packers for a free chance at the growing jackpot. Then invite your friends because the more people who enter, the bigger the jackpot gets. One of our favorite friends on the show, Coach Mangini is here. Birthday boy.
Yeah.
Coach.
Happy birthday, Coach.
Happy birthday. What'd you get, Coach? What'd you get? I'm kidding. Don't tell us. We're the ones that we're getting a gift today. We're getting your game plan.
What can you give the man who has everything?
It went too far. Does he? All right, here we go. Birthday boy. Bills Chiefs. These two teams meeting again in the postseason. Chiefs won last year. Bills beat them back in October. Before, as Broussard would say, Chiefs got their swagger back. So, Coach, what is the game plan for Buffalo to flip the script and upset the Chiefs Sunday in Kansas City?
Jenna, first of all, thank you for such a nice introduction. Every single time you've been amazing at that.
Every single time.
Look, I'm excited about this game. This probably is going to end in disappointment for Nick, but Buffalo is going to have to do some very specific things if they want to be successful. And the first thing is they've got to keep Mahomes in the pocket. They've got to keep him in the pocket. And Nick and I have been talking about this since Mahomes first started. Is he's hard enough to stop when they're running the plays and they're on time and he's going through his progressions. But when you let him get out of the pocket, they make gigantic plays, and it's just too hard on the secondary, and they're so much better than you are in those type of plays. And that is a huge key defensively. The second thing is you've got to make the Chiefs stop the quarterback-driven runs. This is the only quarterback that can really do this anymore in the playoffs, and it's so hard to deal with. It changes the way that you have to game plan in terms of accounting for the numbers, and then it opens up so many different things in the passing game. So that's got to be a huge part of the offensive approach in order to continue to put that pressure on the Chiefs defense. And then the last thing is you need TDs, not field goals. And when you look at the last two times they played, they were 2 for 3 in the red zone. Last year when they played, they were 2 for 5 in the red zone, and they're going to have to be able to match points if they want to be able to keep pace with the Chiefs. And they've been very good all season in terms of scoring touchdowns in the red zone. I think they're second or third in the NFL at this point. But let me show you a play that I think encapsulates the last 2 points. So this is from the last game, and Buffalo has both wide receivers on the same side. And the reason they're doing this is they're trying to get man zone answers. So the corners are on opposite sides, so you know that it's zone. So that gives you the pre-snap information to know that you're facing a zone defense. They're going to bring this short motion in, which doesn't change the coverage, but it forces 3 defenders to slide inside. It creates movement now, just even slight movement, pushing him back inside. But you're going to see after the motion, now he's quick to the flat. So there's going to be the first option. He's going to run a flat. The corner's going to run or the inside guy's going to run a 7. Tight end's going to be a second layer flat guy. And you've got multiple options. You've got the quarterback-driven run. You've got the initial flat. You've got the corner. You've got the second flat. And the final thing you have is Josh Allen as a runner. And when you look at this quarterback-driven run, he's still going to read the defensive end. If the defensive end closes, he's potentially going to pull. But you can see that this is a truly designed run. Look at the way the offensive linemen are blocking, where they're shoulder to shoulder. Everybody's accounted for. If he wanted to hand this off, he could potentially hand this off and still get a decent gain. But with the end closing, that's not the read. But look at the bind it puts. For the corner, he's high load. There's the player in the flat, and there's the wide receiver on the corner. Look at the safety. He's got an in and out conflict. He's got the guy in the flat, and he's got the second layer guy coming to the flat. And now the deep safety, he's got a run-pass conflict. The legitimate quarterback-driven run, where he's got to make that play if the ball's handed off, or now he's got to try to push to the corner route and cover it. And there's just too much space there, and there's too many ways that they're creating conflict with this for the guys to be able to respond. And there's a ton of good options, and it leads to a touchdown.
If we can keep running this film, because I'm just so blinded by that left tackle so clearly illegally downfield. It's hard to play when the other team cheats. Like, it's tough. I mean, I don't know. He's got, he's just 6 yards downfield blocking.
He was
He's not supposed to be able to throw the ball there. I mean, it's just illegally downfield. It's fine, though. Whatever. Listen, I mean, you just watch left tackle. He's damn near at the 5-yard line. Ball snapped at the 8. That's not, within the rules of football. But that's fine. Don't worry about it. You got to do things to beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Coach, so there's a couple things here. First one is this. You mentioned keep Mahomes in the pocket. I don't need your answer to this. I just need you to think about this. I think Mahomes' slump early in the year was actually partially created by the offensive line playing too well, because he was never forced out of the pocket, and that's where he makes all his magic happen. Like, he stayed in the pocket, and he kind of got in a bit of a slump there. So I agree with you on that 1,000%. Mahomes is at his best when it's kind of schoolyard, and he can't have the offensive line he had in the Super Bowl. But the A-plus offensive line performance they were getting early in the year, I think actually was preventing him from getting to some of the magical stuff. But speaking of Mahomes, this is where I think the Bills are in trouble. I want to show you the Bills' schedule, because the Bills' defensive numbers, coach, are off the charts. But they honestly might have played, over the last 10 weeks of the year, the worst group of quarterbacks I've ever seen a team have for 10 straight weeks. They played one great quarterback, who was Brady. They lost to him. Matt Ryan's okay, but he was without his weapons. But if we go in reverse order from the playoff game, McCorkle Jones, rookie with the Jets, Matt Ryan, who we mentioned, McCorkle Jones again, Cam Newton, McCorkle Jones again after Brady, Trevor Siemian, Carson Wentz, I can't believe I'm not remembering his name, the kid from BYU who plays quarterback for the Jets, the Jags, the Dolphins, all of it. So here's my question. Zach Wilson, thank you. I kept wanting to say Mike White. Is there an element of the culture shock, if you will, of going from that list of quarterbacks to Patrick Mahomes that would concern you if you were Leslie Frazier?
Absolutely. It's difficult to simulate how good the quarterback is. And it's difficult to simulate not only how good he is in the pocket, but to simulate those off-schedule plays. And when you haven't really faced someone that's putting a ton of pressure on you, not just in terms of what they can do to your secondary, but then in terms of what they can do in terms of your ability to contain them, the discipline pass rush, all of those things, it can be a real shock. And you can start to believe that you're better than you are because you've beaten a lot of opponents, as opposed to someone like Patrick Mahomes, who's different. It's just different. So yeah, that is a concern, and you'd like to think at this point, with as much experience as they've all had together, that the guys would understand that the difference that they're going into. But it's so hard to simulate and just talk about.
Coach, I wonder if, with the way Buffalo started, I wonder if they had been reading their press clippings. And, a lot of people praising them before the season started, picking them to go to the Super Bowl, Josh Allen to win MVP. And I young team that hadn't done a lot, I wonder if that got to their head. And I thought the loss to New England in the windstorm, when they were embarrassed because New England only passed 3 times, and then the loss, which was embarrassing for that first half, to Tampa Bay back-to-back, I thought that was a wake-up call for Buffalo. And yeah, the competition wasn't great, but they've looked much better since then, obviously last week. So I want to ask you, do you think that was indeed a wake-up call that got them in the right state of mind? And secondly, Coach, you hinted at it. You did a Greg Jennings. Jennings came on here yesterday and gave all these accolades to the Bills and praised them, but didn't go there until we pushed him. You sound like you're picking the Bills too. So give me the wake-up call. Was that it? And your pick, because it sounds like you're going with Buffalo.
Well, Chris, if you remember at the beginning of the season, I picked Buffalo to win the Super Bowl over Green Bay. So yeah, I'm going with Buffalo.
All right,
I'm riding that prediction through. I mean, it's not something new. I did it in the start of at the start of the season. So that happened. Well, now we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it plays out. I really like Tennessee as well, but it is so hard to go from the quarterbacks that you have played to now face someone like Patrick Mahomes, and hopefully it's not one of these things where Kansas City's way out in front and now Buffalo's got to totally deviate from their game plan and get out of their game plan. That to me is the worst case scenario, where they're chasing points really early in the game because they're two scores behind.
That sounds actually
no better
perfect.
place to spend your birthday than right here, talking about how the Bills might beat Nick's Chiefs. Both a birthday present for us and for Nick. Let's talk some hoops. Chris Broussard's going to share his official NBA All-Star ballot with us. Nick caught a glimpse. Big mad. Stick around and find out why. First things first.
Because it's awful. You won't.
First things first, we are more than halfway through the NBA season. Perfect time for Chris Broussard to unveil his NBA All-Star ballot. Media ballots are due this weekend. Broussard, you're a member of the media and an official voter and clearly a diligent student. You finished yours last night. Excited to see who you have and why. Broussard, let us start in the East with the backcourt. Who you got, buddy?
Yeah, now later on, Nick's going to come on and bash my list. Just remember, America, he's mad that he doesn't have an official vote. He loves the list. The team, you can't argue what I'm going to put together. But he's going to feign that because he's upset. He's bitter, and he's going to be childish about it. Okay, just keep that in mind when he kills my list. All right, at guard, DeMar DeRozan in the East. He's the main reason for the Chicago Bulls resurgence. Playing terrifically, 26 points a game, having a great season. All right, at the second guard, James Harden. Now, I know everyone, Harden, he's down, isn't he? Yeah, he's down from his lofty, historically great superstar perch. But if you judge him against other All-Stars, he's actually having a nice year. 23 points a game, 10 assists, 8 rebounds. They're pretty good, and they're winning. All right, at the front court now, I got, this one's easy, Giannis. Okay, Giannis Antetokounmpo, obvious. Kevin Durant, I know he got hurt, obvious. And Joel Embiid, just phenomenal jump shooter and big man.
Yep.
So the front court for the East was a cinch. If the Durant's hurt, he probably won't play in the game. I'm going to throw Jason Tatum in there from Boston. I know they're not winning much, but he's putting up big numbers and playing well. All right, let's go to the West. In the backcourt, number one, Steph Curry. And people are like, oh, Steph's not shooting well now. What's wrong with that? Yeah, but he's still averaging 26 points for the second best team in the league record-wise. I thought about Devin Booker, but Steph's got him beat in points, rebounds, believe it or not, assists, and PER. And he doesn't have right now, DeAndre Ayton and 2 other All-Stars and Chris Paul playing with him. Ja Morant, no-brainer, most exciting and electrifying player, as Wild says, in the league. This dude is special, and they're winning. 3rd seed, Memphis, my goodness. Front court in the West, this is where it got interesting. Obviously, I got LeBron James. LeBron is just unbelievable. Last night, Nick, I know you know this, became the first player in NBA history to get 30,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 8,000 assists in his career. Congratulations, LeBron. I'm awarding you with this spot on the All-Star team. Center, I got Nikola Jokic, a mainstay on Nick's medals, even though Nick doesn't like him at all. But he can't deny. And last night he went for 49. And then we got our man Rudy Gobert. Now look, I'm going to be honest. I wanted to put Luka Doncic. I wanted to put Luka on the front court. Luka's 6'7", 6'8", but he is a point guard now, and he's listed as a guard, so I couldn't. I wanted to put then Devin Booker, swingman kind of, listed as a guard. Yeah. So then I looked at it and I was like, you know what? Let me reward Rudy Gobert. 16 points a game, leads the league in rebounds at 15 plus, second in blocks at 2.5. And Nickel loved this. He throws this out like it means nothing, like it's a joke. It's significant, especially in today's pick and roll NBA, that Rudy Gobert leads the league in screen assists. I'm usually not with the analytics guys, but that's a nugget. A nugget for the analytics. That's an honest branch. Let's make up analytics geeks. He's first all time, or leading the league in screen assists.
Broussard started this with a lie and ended it with the worst All-Star selection ever. The lie is this. He said I don't have a vote. Actually, I have literally hundreds of votes. I can tweet them every day. I tweeted it during this segment to try to offset your stuff. Fan vote, buddy. Hey, I'm not a part of the media elite like you, buddy. So I just have hundreds and hundreds of all-star votes, not one. Here's why this is so bad by Broussard. 7 of these, Steph, Ja, Jokic, LeBron, and the East front court, are all locks. Everyone has it. So there's only 3 real choices. And Broussard went 1 for 3. DeRozan's correct. Levine should be in over Harden, however. But more importantly, let's not argue about that. Rudy Gobert starting an all-star game. Just say it out loud, and as soon as you say it, your mouth starts. Hey, who would I rather? Literally anyone. Karl Anthony Towns? Come on down. Want to reward the Warriors? Draymond Green.
Really?
Come on down. Yes, really. Anyone. It is wild. It is an all-star game. Raise your hand if you're excited to watch screen assists, pouting faces, and rim protection in the all-star game. No thanks. 16 points a game. Oh, he's 70% from the field.
Personally.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
he can be on the team. He can't be a starter, Wild.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert starting an all-star game would be the death of the all-star game. It'd be over. Jumping the shark. Can't happen. It'd be terrible. No. What, Wild?
Okay. Here, this is a take that is going to be perfectly centered about Rudy Gobert. The issue with the All-Star game is it comes a little Harlem Globetrotteries, right? It's just like, throw an alley-oop and no one's really trying on defense. If you put Rudy Gobert in there, you put Rudy, and Rudy's like, hey, you got to really block shots. The offense actually gets better too. Like Russ, was that big dunk on Rudy Gobert, actually is exciting because someone's trying to block it. If that was an all-star game and you have, Draymond out there, I'll just go. I mean, they're both on the West, but you're like, go ahead. If you have Rudy Gobert out there, he's getting in the way of stuff. He's trying to block stuff. He's getting dunked on a lot.
Get someone hurt.
No one's going to get hurt. No one's going to get hurt.
See, Wiles, here's the problem. Nick is of the generation where they don't want to compete in the All-Star game. The All-Star game fell off in 2014 when they stopped competing. And it's just it parts like the Red Sea, and every dunk is wide open, and it's no fun to watch. And they just waste 133-point shots. Back when men were men, and Mount Mutombo was man in the paint. Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, David Robinson, Shaq. That's when the All-Star game was nice because you got some resistance at the rim. And that's why Rudy Gobert would be a nice addition to the All-Star team. Now, on the other hand, Nick, I don't care if he only plays 6 minutes. Because I get it. You want to see the exciting guys. And Karl Anthony Towns having a wonderful year. I considered him. But here's the thing, Nick. This matters. This is about legacy. When we look at Hall of Famers and all-time greats and top 75, we look at how many all-star teams did they make? How many all-NBA teams? So he deserves it. He's having a deserved year to start.
Yeah, put him on the team.
Play him 5 minutes. But he should be. It counts that he's an all-star. He should make it. It's not a fashion show, Nick. It's not a fashion show.
Well, just wait a second.
The man
Just
deserves
real quick.
it. He's playing great.
Okay, there is a reason when the players pick, every year he's the last one picked. They have the draft, and it's like, who's left? It's Gobert. It's like, damn it, somebody's got to have him. Look at these other guys on this list. You have MVPs. You have DeRozan, who's been a really good player. Of the other 9 guys, DeRozan's the worst, like the least accomplished. And he might, he's like a fringe MVP candidate this year. You have the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. You have the greatest shooter ever. You have the greatest passer ever. You have the best passing big man since Walton. You have maybe the best scorer ever in Durant. You have maybe the best shooting big man ever, maybe, in Embiid. You have a guy who might be the greatest international player when it's all said and done in Giannis. You have one of the best playmakers ever in Harden.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have Rudy Gobert. And then it's Rudy.
Screen assists.
I mean, it befouls an otherwise great lineup of 10 all-timers. And 8 all-timers plus DeRozan.
Unbelievable.
NBA All-Star Game in Cleveland, your hometown. Broussard, 1 month from today. Good stuff,
I'll be there.
All right, let's move on. Talk some Tom Brady. You better be there. Tom talked about never getting roughing the passer calls. I feel like Nick is just going to keep this being fired up, rolling right through the next segment. Back after this. On Saturday, the NFC Divisional Playoff presented by Intuit TurboTax Live is on Fox. Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners heading to Lambeau, take on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, so it'll probably be a nice and warm up there. It all starts 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, only on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Time now for Stories to Start Your Morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Speaking of that game, all eyes on Jimmy Garoppolo, after he sprained his throwing shoulder in the win over the Cowboys. Now, if Jimmy G is available, he's going to need his very best if he's got any shot of upsetting the Packers. And of all the injuries to a quarterback, though, you'd think this one would be the worst, your throwing shoulder. Well, you wouldn't be wrong. Take a listen.
The shoulder, it's being a quarterback, it affects every throw. So it definitely had some impact. But if I'm out there and I'm being put in that spot, I got still make the plays that I normally make. So no excuses or anything like that. Just the injury is what it is. Just we're all dealing with stuff.
So Nick, how worried do you think Niners fans should be without Jimmy G?
Well, most notably, I'm glad there's no excuses there. No excuses, guys. Yeah. No excuses. But every single play I have, I'm hampered. Just so everyone understands, I'm hampered. I know my coach said I'm fine, but I want you guys to know I'm hampered. There's no excuses. So here's the deal. Maybe we can get a doctor on the show and explain the kinetic chain to me. Does a shoulder injury affect how the neurons fire in your brain? Does a shoulder injury lead to terrible processing and bad decision-making? Because if so, maybe I can give Jimmy Garoppolo a pass for trying to throw away the game against the Cowboys. But yeah, the Niners fans should be really worried. Because healthy or not, Jimmy's going to go Jimmy. And that means he is going to, as the game gets later, as the stakes get higher, make increasingly puzzling decisions and miss layups. He had a pass to ice the game, Brandon Ayuk. It was set up perfectly called play, perfectly run play, and then you miss him by 6 yards. Now, we can say that's on the shoulder. I don't know why we would, but sure, call that the shoulder. My shoulder's injured, so I throw the ball further. It's a rookie of the year type of situation. You remember that great 90s baseball film. Okay, fine. What about this? Is this the shoulder where, listen, if my shoulder were healthy, I was blinded by the pain that I didn't see the 3 defenders around. The jersey colors are so similar here, it's kind of unfair. No, that's Jimmy going Jimmy. And so, yeah, they should be terrified, Broussard, because, in my opinion, in this football game, the 49ers have the better offensive line, they have the better defensive line, they have the better running game. I don't think they have the better number one receiver, but I think they have the better receiving core, and I think the coaching staffs are a push. But the gap at quarterback is so massive, it's hard to pick the Niners to win the football game, because even if they're playing a perfect game, Broussard, if you ask Jimmy to do anything, he might just do that. So, yeah, I think they should be very, very worried about Jimmy Garoppolo.
how in the world did the 49ers, with this same quarterback, Jimmy G, beat Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago in the playoffs? How did that happen?
They let Jimmy throw 8 passes. They ran the ball 1,000 times and threw the ball 8 times. That's how. They
still won the game. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And you want to bash quarterback wins, but it's about it's not nonsense. One of the main reasons we consider Tom Brady the GOAT is quarterback wins, Super Bowl wins. All right, and I'm not saying Jimmy G's anywhere near Tom Brady, but I'm just saying, well, there were some of those wins where it was the defense and the kicker that helped him out a whole bunch. All right, so here's the thing. First of all, 49ers fans, relax. You don't need to be worried about anything because there is absolutely no pressure on you. A little bit of pressure on Jimmy G himself as an individual, but nobody's expecting you to go into Lambeau and win this game. You're even a little bit
But that's
banged
because
up.
of Jimmy.
That even furthers it. No, it's because the Packers have been Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great quarterback. Jimmy G is a pretty good quarterback. So, there's a huge gap there. But overall, nobody expects the 49ers to beat Green Bay. If they do, it's icing on the cake. So that if they lose, nobody's going to kill them. So, Jimmy G, I agree with you, Nick, in that I don't think the shoulder is going to be a huge factor. I do think it was last week. The stats show it. Before the injury in the second quarter, Jimmy G was doing his thing. 11 for 14, 133 yards. Look at the passer rating, Nick Wright. Second half, after the injury, sprained the shoulder, 5 for 11, 39 yards, and the bad interception. Now, I will not blame the interception on the shoulder. That was just a bad decision, which he is apt to do. But the pass he missed to Ayuk, I'm going to say that was the shoulder. And here's the thing, Nick. It's on the guys in the trenches. It's on the guys in the trenches for San Francisco. If they can establish the running game, get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, and stop him from building a big lead, keep this thing close or build a lead themselves. But if they keep it close in the fourth quarter, I feel good about Jimmy G because I've seen it. We saw it earlier in the year, Nick, when they lost 30-28 in week 3. The Niners weren't even playing well, and they took Green Bay to the hill. And Jimmy G led the potentially game-winning drive, 7 plays, 75 yards, touchdown pass to Juszczyk, go ahead with 37 seconds left, and Aaron Rodgers works magic, and they end up winning it. But Cincinnati, game-winning drive. LA Rams to make the postseason, game-winning drive. You're tripping if you don't think Jimmy G can deliver late in games, Wilds.
So hold on, wait, let me just respond real quick. The first time against Green Bay, Jimmy G played well, is what you're telling me. Led a great drive through, but they lost. So I guess it doesn't matter because quarterback wins is what we care about. When the quarterback plays well. When they lose, he didn't. Here, listen, here's the nuance. Okay, here's something wild that's not nuanced. Has Jimmy G had an injured shoulder in the fourth quarter of every playoff game he's ever played in? Because he's the worst fourth quarter quarterback ever. Show me the numbers, please. Fourth quarter, the last 30 years, as far back as our numbers will go. Oh, he's worse than TJ Yates. He's worse than Drew Bledsoe. He's worse than David Garrard. He's worse than Brock Osweiler. He's the worst in 30 years. We can try to justify it. We can try to explain it away. But we see it. We watch it happen. And the reason the Niners are playing with house money, Wilds, is because despite the fact that they have a great coach, he could work on game management quite a bit, but a great offensive mind, a great offensive line, a great running game, a very scary defense. They had to sneak into the playoffs the last game of the year because their quarterback is not good. That shouldn't be a team that's playing with house money. They should be a team that's playing for a Super Bowl. But because the quarterback is such a limiting factor, they have a clear, defined ceiling.
So here's why I like Jimmy G. Jimmy G, drafted obviously by the Patriots, mentored and developed by Bill Belichick. Jimmy G cares about one thing, winning football games. And that's why he's 36 and 15. That's it. And Nick, you said, oh, you know what happened to Mac Jones? Mac Jones went into Buffalo, and he had his confidence got shot because Belichick took the ball out of his hand. Okay. Well, didn't the same thing happen with Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan against the Packers? They scored 37 points in that game. Jimmy G only went 6 for 8. Jimmy G said, you know what? Yeah. If I only have to throw 8 times and we end up scoring 37 points, that's okay with me. I care about winning.
Yeah,
and that's why quarterback wins are a real thing. You're like, but what about the fourth quarter of Jimmy G?
Yep.
How are the 49ers even here? Oh, yeah. Jimmy G led a game-tying drive down the field against the Rams. That was in the fourth quarter. And just for the record, I think as much as we... I understand. Patrick Mahomes did the same thing. He had an interception 2 weeks ago, and then he had played great. So, just for the record, we like to talk about the 49ers. We're not that invested in the 49ers. We're not. I think Kyle Shanahan's far more invested in the success of the 49ers than we are. Start Trey Lance. Why doesn't Kyle Shanahan start Trey? They gave 3 first-round picks. Obviously, the future. Why? Because you know why? Because Jimmy G is a winner.
Go ahead.
And he knows that Jimmy G can win a playoff game for him.
This is so... Okay, can I ask a question?
He is.
Can I ask a question? Hold on. If he's a winner, Broussard, whose fault is it that the Cowboys even got that last possession? Because the Niners had it 4th and inches, and they're going for it. And they converted it. Quarterback sneak. Why did they end up punting there? Because Jimmy G, veteran quarterback who does not process well, which is a kind way of saying something else, did not wait for his 300-pound left tackle to get set. You can't make that mistake. Just like you can't throw the pick that kills you, but he does every time. The game's over if he waits for his lineman to get set.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you say Jimmy G is not a winner. And look, Wilds and I are not
No, I didn't say he's not a winner. I said he's not good. You guys are calling him winner. I said he's not good.
Quarterback. We're not saying he's an elite quarterback. We're not putting him on the Pro Bowl team. We're not saying he's on Aaron Rodgers' level. We're saying he's a winner because when he showed up to San Francisco, with the boy wonder Kyle Shanahan as coach, they were 1-10. And then they won 5 straight games. And that's been the case ever since he's been there. Wild said it, 36 and 15 when he starts.
And 8 and
28 with the same defense, the same run game, the same genius coach. They're 8 and 28 when Jimmy G doesn't start.
Because it's CJ, he's better than CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins, and Brian Hoyer. Bully for him.
But I thought the coach was so great. I thought it was all about the coach.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. He was excellent against the Cowboys. Give him the game ball. He was excellent against the Packers in the championship game. Give him the game ball.
Lost.
Undisputed right now.
Review it. They lost the game, actually.